Welcome to the Whiskey Chronicles, where Justin and his father cover topics from outdoor sports to whiskey. They will be joined from time to time with all kinds of guests, so we hope you enjoy. Here are your hosts, Justin and Kevin.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Whiskey Chronicles podcast, brought to you by Team Whiskey. We got a real special guest over today, and we're going to go ahead and give him a short introduction.
All right, guys. Hey, we're really happy to have Dave Beronio here. He's a lifetime local Tahoe native. You might know him from his TV show on Outdoor Channel, which was
Outback Outdoors.
Outback Outdoors. You might have seen his mug on some Cabella's marketing as well, some videos and some pictures. And if you follow the Train to Hunt series, you might know him from that as well. So we're glad to have you here. And let's just, do the official clink of the glass.
It is Whiskey Wednesday, although by the time you guys see this, it'll probably be Thursday or Friday. But you're here with us on Whiskey Wednesday in spirit.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. You guys do a podcast and whiskey's on the table. It opens up the breathing, and you get the whiskey in there, and who knows where that conversation's going to go.
It's always raw and uncut.
So, Dave, you do guiding for the, was it H&K?
R&K Hunting Company.
R&K Hunting Company,
yeah.
And they're in Utah and Wyoming?
Yeah, so we've got the R&K Hunting Company is based out of Colville, Utah. That's where it started. And we've got five different location properties. We've got 4 locations in Utah, and then we have actually 6. And then we've got an operation in the backcountry up near Jackson, Wyoming. That's all horseback, wall tents. It's backcountry. It's grizzly country.
Nice.
Then we have the Queen Mountain Lodge, which is south of Evanston, Wyoming. And that's a beautiful 15-room log lodge. And there's, between 150 and 200,000 acres that we were able to hunt and it's just a lot of adjoining landowners.
Is it mainly just elk?
It's deer, elk, moose, antelope.
Oh, wow.
We do some bear there as well. The bear is more for management because a lot of these properties, they run sheep and cattle, and they've got thousands of head of sheep that they're running in all different bands or groups or whatever herds, whatever the gaggles,
Gaggles.
whatever the
gaggles of sheep sounds right.
Whatever the group. But these landowners, they've got thousands of sheep, and so
is it grizzly hunting?
No, it's black bear.
Black bear.
Yeah. Occasionally we get wolves coming through, but that's not very often. And then the ranch, and so I ran the Queen Mountain Lodge for over a decade, and then I was brought over to another piece of property called Thousand Peaks. And that's in the Florence Weber CWMU, which is in Utah. Just basically that southwest corner of Wyoming that cuts into Utah.
Mm-hmm.
You know that little cutout, that corner? You put your finger right on that corner. We've got property to the north, west, and straight to the south to the Weber River. It's 40,000 acres of...
It's got to be a sweet spot.
Oh, man. To live up there, I go up there from mid-July to mid-November, and I basically live on the mountain for all those months. It's epic. I've got a great crew of guides, and we're family. We take care of each other up there, and it's day in and day out.
Well, you didn't grow up in a bad place. I mean, I feel pretty blessed that we get to live in the Tahoe Basin.
Oh, Tahoe's an amazing place. You have every season, and you've got everything to do during those seasons except elk hunting and bear hunting. You can't do that in the basin, and so we've got a beautiful place to live. But
you can bear hunt in the basin.
Maybe in California on the Nevada side you can.
Nevada side you can.
It's got to be over from
in California. You can.
California side you can, as long as you're 1,000 feet away from.
Right.
Any kind of trash or trash reticle or house or dumpster.
I wasn't baiting. That's a dumpster.
You're going to count that, though.
You get a tape measure. You mark it out 1,000 feet.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. For me, even growing up here, that's the last thing I wanted to do is, and that's something about archery and sportsmen. We have a duty to be a good reflection on what we are. And so if we're hunting in the basin, that's
out by Camp Richardson or something.
Yeah, it just causes too many issues.
Yeah,
I'd rather be in the backcountry and not take something than
it's too close for comfort being in here with all the tourists and everything. It's just too much.
Right.
Yeah, but there is a problem with them. So you got to look at the other way. So how are they going to manage that problem?
And that's just the thing. It comes down to management. So many people, they're fighting for the bears, but they don't understand that the bears are living in this environment, and we're just, we're creating this nasty cycle. You have a sow that drops a couple cubs. Now she teaches them that pizza and leftover Chinese food is their dinner. That's what they get used to.
Yeah.
And until you recondition those bears, and I can attest to that because for a number of years I was volunteering with the Department of Wildlife with Carl Lackey. So we would snare bears, collar them. We would go into the dens during the winter. We would pull out we'd tranquilize the moms. We'd pull out the cubs so they could get a good read on what the recruitment is, how many new bears were coming in, what sex they were.
Get some good data points and everything.
We had great data, and that's the only reason after 15 years of doing this research. That's why they created tags in Nevada, because they knew the recruitment was plenty to handle that. And he does a lot of capturing in the basin and then inversely conditioning these bears. But as they have cubs and send them into dumpsters, that's another generation that's just learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we can go down a huge rabbit hole there.
We have a lot of issues here, especially in our neighborhood with bears like just checking your car door.
Yeah.
Like the truck?
Yeah, like the truck or my car. It's got some scratch marks from bears trying to just jimmy the handle open.
There's one bear in particular. I watched him walk down the street last year and open up every car door that he could. And I know he's back because just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I went to go before I went to the gym, I tried to do the auto start. When the start, I was like, what's going on? Look out, doors open. And of course, bear got in there, but there was nothing in my car, but then he got in the other truck and he got into a little bit of liquor. And he
decent run on the rocks.
Yeah. What else? He drank 3 Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, the
double
shots, one's in the can.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and it's like we always talk about like don't leave anything in the car, and I never do. But about 2 years ago, I left my pack in there, my day pack, and we always talk about like what do you put in your pack, and we'll touch on that. So one of the things that I always carry in my day pack is some ibuprofen and some papaya enzymes. And I usually keep a toothbrush and toothpaste and stuff in there too. It's just, everybody's got their little weird stuff, right, that they like want to take with them. I got up in the morning and a bear got in there, ate all the papaya enzymes and all the ibuprofen. It actually opened up. It was a Kuyu pack. Opened it up and then ripped. It had the little mesh on the inside.
Mesh pocket.
The mesh pocket on the inside, and went straight for the papaya enzymes and the ibuprofen, which I thought was.
And I tell you what,
it was like he probably was walking through the neighborhood feeling pretty good, and
well digested.
Well, that kind of goes with the whiskey too. He's like,
yeah.
From last night's car break-in, I've got a little bit of a headache. I'm gonna get off the ibuprofen and a little bit of rehydrate.
So getting back to the outfitting, so you get a lot of people coming in, and I know that a lot of people follow us. They use outfitters, and it'd be good to like hear from you what you would really see and expect when a client shows up in the camp, what you expect out of them.
Well, not only what you expect out of them, but what do you usually see? What kind of people are coming in using the guide service, and then what you kind of expect from them ahead of time, and then also letting the listeners know what they could do if they're going to be using a guide service, what they can do to be prepared and ready to,
and then make the most of, because let's face facts, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, but you do get what you pay for. There's a lot of different ways we can go about this, but it's important for me as the owners of R&K have entrusted me in running these lodges. running Queen Mountain and now running Thousand Peaks. We get, in the whole company, we get about 550 clients a year. That's for deer, elk, moose, antelope in all 5, sometimes 6 camps. So that's a lot of people coming in. And we get a lot of professionals who make, who do really good and just want to have that experience of getting up in the high country, getting out west and hunting mule deer and elk and moose. We get a lot of people east of Colorado and then west of the Sierras. Get a lot of California people, Texas people, not as many people that live in, what we would consider the western mule deer elk
country.
Elk country. These people are coming in for that experience.
Yeah.
And whether it's somebody that's a professional that gets out to hunt a couple times a year, or somebody like us who get to hunt multiple times a year, we do get guys that are experienced who want to come in and be immersed in that environment, say hunting elk during that time when things are just ripping and roaring, to go with a guide who's been living on the mountain and being a product of their environment.
Right.
It is a great thing for somebody who's even skilled at hunting to get in there, who's maybe they've been elk hunting a few times and not had much luck, and then they come out to hunt with us and they go, okay, I get it now. I see what you're doing. You're talking to them. You're testing their temperature. You're feeling it out. It's a great thing for people who have experience to get out with an outfitter as well. For me, running these properties, I really take a lot of pride in being of service to our clients. We understand that some of them are saving up many years to be able to come out with us. Others, have that disposable income that they could do it. But either way, whether you're a millionaire or you're that truck driver that saved a lot of money, you get the same experience and you get treated the same way. It's important for us to create that incredible experience and create the memories. But it's not just the hunt; it's everything that goes along with that as well. It's the fishing down at the pond midday, and the banter that goes on from the lodge down to the pond of the guys that are coming in.
It's all the hunting camp bullshit.
It's the guides living in the same area. We have our own cabins, but we're living together. We're eating side by side with our clients, and we create that camaraderie.
Like a hunting camp.
It's a beautiful dynamic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Every one of our guides really caters to our client in making sure that their experience on the mountain is wonderful. And it's not just the kill, it's everything that happens. I mean, some of us are catching porcupines by hand and showing them to the clients and letting them see that, or calling elk right into the guy's face when we're deer hunting, just because that's the opportunity. Right. Or we might be out, bow hunting elk, and I've got my, Phelps bugle, and I just start. He's like, "What are you doing?" I go, didn't you hear the grunting of the moose? He's down there. And you can hear him down there, and all of a sudden the guy's just standing there with his bow, and he starts shaking because this giant moose is walking at him. So it's not just the hunt of the animal that we're going after, but it's creating that beautiful experience across the board. A week that they'll, no amount of money can.
Yeah, and that to me is like,
and we have a gourmet chef, so that that makes it a little bit.
That makes it good. But that kind of is like what the hunt camp is supposed to be, right? Like everybody's together, we're all trying to do it the same. We're all trying to help each other. It doesn't matter who gets it, as long as somebody gets it, right? That's kind of like the mentality of the hunt camp, And that's good to hear that, you do that. Now, I know when I did whitetail outfitting in Ohio, it was way small, but that was one thing I wanted to make sure that I would only take one group at a time, just because I didn't want people to think, oh, well, is so-and-so giving you more money, whatever.
To get the better location.
And I basically just opened up the whole farm to them. It's like, I have places set up, but if you want to set up somewhere else, we can go set up there. And so, to me, that's the best part of hunting. And that is like the primeval thing of hunting, is that, and why men like to get together, is because it started with hunting. Okay, we have sports teams now, we have, moose lodges and all these things for men to get together. But it really started all the way back when they had to get together to hunt.
Caveman times.
To provide food for the rest of the clan.
Yeah.
And it didn't, back then, it didn't matter the size of the rack. It didn't matter the size of the animal. It just mattered that we got something.
Yeah.
And,
to expand a little bit on what you were saying, though, some weeks I'll have 5 guides with 5 clients in camp. Other times it'll be 10 guides with 10 clients. And my guys really put a lot of time on the mountain, a lot of glassing. And so I might have one guy say Dobie finds this just giant buck in this canyon. We won't pull him out for, to bring in another client. Our guys, they put in the work so that they can take care of their client and reap that reward. Sometimes after a morning hunt, we all use Onyx. So all of us are on the same program, the mapping system.
Yeah.
We're able to send a pin to our guys, hey, we dropped an elk, and, after the morning hunt, whoever's available, the guys will drop off their client, for appetizers and lunch and relaxing and fishing. And all of us, it's like meat bees. We are all there to make sure that animal gets off the mountain in a timely manner, that we take care of the processing all together. Even if it's not your client, we owe that duty to the animal, the respect for the animal, but also his client, in showing that, Dobie could absolutely, pack this in a couple trips to get the whole thing off. Why don't we just get it all off? And, it's a lot of camaraderie between the guides as well. And so that creates an atmosphere in camp that the clients see that and they go, this is a team.
Yeah.
This is the type of company I'm willing to pay, because they go above and beyond in all of the aspects. We'll have 3 elk hanging in a night, and there's all the guides out there until 2-3 in the morning, caping off and quartering up, or whatever packing out, whatever we have to do, night packing to get it back. And then the guys are up early in the morning to get out and maybe call for the other guy or help glass for the other guy. And it's,
and I can appreciate that, because every time I ever get an animal down, to me, not really anxiety, but this like push, like, okay, I got to procure this meat and get it to a safe spot so that, I can process it. And so, having everybody chip in, well, that makes that go quicker. So then it's not sitting out there, depending on the temperature, obviously, but you don't want the bone spoil, and all that. And now that we're getting into that, so like I was reading that little bit of bio, and I read this about you packing out a whole cow elk. Okay. First of all, how many pounds?
Well, on a bull, the hind end, each quarter is 75 to 80 pounds. The shoulders are about 45 to 50, and I can usually pack both hind ends and a front quarter out in one trip, and then the rest, the neck, the back strap.
So you're getting 200 pounds on your back.
Yes.
Okay.
A cow elk, I would say it's pretty close when you're taking all 4 quarters, back straps, neck,
Yeah.
and loins.
Yeah.
And what kind of pack out are we talking about here?
2-3 miles.
2-3 miles
in rugged country. But you can say, oh, I packed an elk for 700 yards, and people go, oh, that's nothing. Well, it's deadfall. It's it's rocks. It's steep. Who knows what the guy's dealt with? But sometimes we're packing a couple hundred yards. Sometimes we're packing a couple miles. Both of those cow elk were Nevada public land. I had two of my I had my brother-in-law and his friend who both had the tags. We went out late season out by Ely, and we did not shoot. They shot 2 cows on 2 consecutive days. And when I have always trained to be the best I can be on the mountain. Yes, we can get into the competition part of that as well, but I owe it to my clients, and I also owe it to myself to be fit and mountain ready, because I don't want the lack of my ability to affect, getting in and getting something accomplished. I don't want to look down into a canyon and say, man, I really wish I could go down there and get that elk. I'll go, bleep, yeah. I'm going. I don't know how the podcast works. And I'm going to go down there because I know that I'm going to get back up. So I've done the work all season to get there. Just to digress, that's how I met you guys. Was in the gym. You guys are doing the exact same thing. Yeah. So, for me, I came up with a strategy when I met Dennis and Joe with Initial Ascent packs. That's a little plug. They have this carbon.
You were telling me about their packs.
They have this carbon frame pack, which you set up the pack to your body because we're all unique. So where the shoulders sit, where your hip belt sits, where everything is aligned. Then on that carbon frame, there's a day pack mode. There's the lid. There's a 2,000, a 4,000, a 6,000, a decoy bag, and they've got another bag that all attached to that same frame.
Right.
So you can go from one thing to the next, never having to change that frame.
That setup where you feel the comfort from the waist strap and getting that measurements correct.
Right. And I pack a ton of animals every year. So for me, that is a tool of my trade, and it has made me a better guide in a lot of respects in how I'm on the mountain. Takes care of my body. That's another thing we can get into as well. So the interesting part about this is when a number of years ago, I did a train to hunt competition, and one of the events was a 3.2 mile run uphill over 2,000 feet in elevation with 100 pounds on your back. And that was at the midpoint after you did 30 to 38 minutes of basically a CrossFit games while you're shooting a bow, like high intensity. And then you get this backpack and it's like straight to the top of the mountain and it's a race.
Right.
And the pack that I had, I'm not going to mention the name, wasn't going to be comfortable and it wouldn't hold that 100 pounds that I needed it to do in that fashion. So I borrowed my girlfriend's Initial Ascent pack because she was doing some development with the pack with this company.
Right.
And
some product development from women's lines and things like that.
Yep. And she was on the front lines of that, in regards to that development. She had her pack because we took the trip together. And she goes, Dave, here you go. Here's my pack. We readjusted everything. We put the 100 pounds on it. And that year I ended up taking third overall at the Train to Hunt national championships. But what it told me was, wow, this pack's comfortable and it carried that load. So as I go into the season, the interesting part about this pack is it's got these carbon fiber wings, kind of an upper wing, some wings down, one in the middle of your ribs and one towards the bottom. And that's where the bags attach. Well, I'm looking at the upper part and I'm going, Dennis, have you just like using a single tree where you're hanging your deer in camp or hanging quarters, do you ever hang any meat off of that? Because I'm looking for ways, like there are packs out there that do really good, but once you put meat in them, they just collapse on your back. And I got to pack this stuff out day in and day out. So the upper carbon fiber limb, I'm thinking, and I did this with a deer in, I think it was October. I cut off the hind quarter and I put a slit right where the hock is, where that tendon is.
Yep.
And I hung it on there, and one little strap, and I locked it in. I'm like, okay. I did it to the other side. Then I put both shoulders inside on the shelf, not in the bag. Right. And then I put the back straps and the neck, and then I caped it out, and I put the head on there and everything. So it was the full deer, minus the rib meat because we didn't have to take the rib meat. And I hauled it out. No problem, easy as can be, because when the weight is sitting right over, hanging off those carbon fiber limbs, the weight is coming right down over your hips. So it keeps your spine in alignment. The weight is pulling straight down instead of pulling you back. Yeah. So now it's a whole different dynamic.
Because this is the thing when you always have to do with a pack, right? Is release. You got to constantly kind of go in there and do this.
And I don't have to be, pulling it in because that weight is hanging straight. It's pulling
right on the frame.
Right on the frame, pushing, sitting right on my hips, and it keeps me balanced. I can walk uphill or downhill standing straight up and not have to lean in or lean, It is totally changed
So did
my
they
back.
Did they develop those wings for that purpose, or were you the one to kind of figure out like,
That
hey,
was-
I can hook some quarters on this and get the weight balanced? And
Yeah, that was not how they developed it. They developed it for the efficiency of easy changing out your bags,
Right.
whatever bag you decide to use, for the ease of that and the dynamics. Well, seeing that it's right there, why not use it? So then after the deer, I go, okay, I could probably do this to an elk. So killed a bull with a client, put both hindquarters, hanging on it, hiked out, came back in, did both fronts, the head and the cape, and everything else. So packing out a bull in 2 trips, one man, started becoming the norm. And now a number of my guides, they use the same pack because it makes it efficient, and they're saving their bodies, which is unique. Now we're doing it with moose, hanging both hindquarters,
Oh my
2
God.
hindquarters of a moose, and packing that out.
Okay, so I got to ask a question. Sorry to interrupt you, but so I'm imagining all this weight on this pack. You can't pick that thing up and shoulder it yourself.
It's where you
You
set
put
it.
it like on a log
How-
somewhere where you can get on it, and then like
So I usually
Use
do
your
the gut.
legs.
So I usually do the gutless method, and I process it. I process the animal out in the gutless method. Load everything in my game bags, lay them out, get them ready, so I know what pieces are going to go where. Then I'll take the frame and I'll set it maybe on a log or a rock or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just off the ground, and then I'll put the quarters on it, strap them in, put whatever however I'm going to dial it in. But there have been times where I didn't have any of that. So I will lay both quarters, I'll put them on the frame and just let the frame, kind of fall back. Then I'll scoot up next to it. And I've got a couple of videos of me getting up. It's kind of comical, but you can do it.
Do you do it like the whole rollover maneuver and push up?
Yeah. So I'll roll over on my side. I'll get on my knees, and then I'll stand up. Just like doing train to hunt, where you're having to do get-ups with the 50-pound sandbag,
Right.
and
And
that's
then-
what also it's just the dynamics, and when we're in the gym, we're training using those functional training movements, and it helps. I'm not a big guy. I'm only 190 pounds.
Only 190.
My legs are skinny, and I'm just kind of skinny. But when you're hauling off an elk and people look at you and go, "What are you doing?" Well, it's the dynamics of the pack, and it's training all year to make sure that I'm the best I can be.
And I think too, like you grew up here, and I know that my whole life I've been hiking mountains and Appalachians, and once you kind of get that mindset, like, oh, okay, when I look at a mountain, I look at it as like, oh, I can get up there, but I kind of already know how long it's going to take me to get up there, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's that mindset. If you haven't done it, then it's really hard to do it. So it's like because you think like, oh wow, how can I do it? But so I think that growing up, and too like skiing mountains, mountain biking mountains, hiking mountains, you kind of start to understand the contours of the land and the energy that it takes to travel those contours of the land.
Yeah, being efficient. Well, growing up here in Lake Tahoe, I grew up in the basin. I grew up ski racing. Went up through junior Olympic teams, one of the number one in the Western U.S., the men's U.S. development team. So my on the mountain for skiing and my off the mountain during skiing was still on the mountain.
Yeah.
And we train at elevation.
Yeah.
And, regressing to one of your previous topics about the clients that I take out, a lot of times I will get a guy that comes out and we hunt together, and he realizes that the West is just, it's tough for him. Elevation.
Somebody from the Midwest that's used to tree stand hunting.
We're covering some ground. The elk are bugling. All of a sudden, you grab them by the neck and you go, "We got to go.
And we
got to catch them, or they're
Gone.
They're gone. They're going to be in their bedding area."
Do you guys ever use UTVs or ATVs?
Yeah, we do. We also use the Baku bikes.
Okay, yeah.
For clients to sneak into some areas.
Yeah,
they've
are
been
awesome.
they've been a huge help with our clients. We've got 4 of them that are always charged, that are in the back of the reefer, and we'll take them out a couple times a week because we can get in silent.
Yeah.
And it saves our clients' legs. We also use, we all have UTVs to get to a certain point, but then it's the legwork. It's the hunt. And they appreciate that as well. And I've had clients that come back after, and it's one of those things that in life, we lead by example. And so it's not, I'm going to beat you up the mountain. It's let's work together. Because one, I can't kill anything if you're not there. And they get inspired to change their lifestyle. And I've had clients that came back completely different men the next year, ready to
training all year for
training. And even though they were in the flats, they would run, and they didn't have the elevation, but it only takes a couple days for them to get acclimated. But then they became better in, on the next year's hunt. And that's a beautiful thing about everything we do. We have the opportunity to inspire others to become better and to have a better experience because they've done the work throughout the year.
Yeah. And I think too, the whole training part of it is that you have to be thankful for what you can do. Once you're thankful for what you can do, then you're going to be able to do more. If you beat yourself up mentally for what you can't do, it's hard to progress. And it's a lesson that I learned, with a bad knee injury. So, I had to start from ground zero at the age of 40. And so you learn that whole thing it's a mental thing. It's definitely a mental thing. And I think a lot of people, when they come out here, I had a friend of mine came out here from Miami, and he's a really fit guy, FBI guy. We did a backpacking trip in 2005. And we climbed Mount Tyndall down there by Mount Whitney. It was 14,100 feet. He was beat mentally before he got here because, he's that kind of guy that just overthinks it. But we did 4,000 vertical feet in one day. He woke up in the morning. He's like, "Hey, I got to leave." I was like, "Don't leave. Just go down 1,000 feet. Let's take some water down. Let's chill and then come back up." No, I gotta go.
Altitude sickness.
Well, he was claiming that he could feel his brain scraping against his skull. That's what he's claiming. But it was mental. And then once he started his way down, then he I can't just quit, And then he came back. But
and that's where we have the ability to work with each client and their capacity. So when we get the new group coming in, I kind of, I talk to them, I see what they're able to do, what ailments they have, or what kind of things that would hinder them on the hunt, and their personalities, and I kind of do that, the massaging, which guide's going to be best for here, and where they're going to hunt, and how that's going to work. So there's a whole dynamic that goes on behind the scenes. So I got the opportunity. We have the bone collectors come out. They come out, I think, the last 3 or 4 years. Michael and Nick and T-Bone, they're from the flatlands, Booger Bottom or whatever Michael called it, and so they're coming from sea level all the way up there. We have a number of opportunities, but one of the greatest memories I had was when T-Bone was coming out. T-Bone's a big boy. T-Bone, for him to hunt elk, which is a very dynamic sport, was going to be pretty difficult. And when Nick and Michael were out there early in the season hunting archery mule deer in the velvet, I said, we'd really like him to be able to hunt elk not in a blind. We want him to come out and experience being on foot and working in on them. And I told him that's what we were going to do. So the first night T-Bone gets there, we put him in a blind just to get him kind of acclimated to the elevation. He was with his camera guy, Daniel Richens, and myself. He's the owner of R&K. There were the elk in the area, and we had him in a blind, so we would call trying to bring the elk by him, right? Just he could hear elk. He could be, in that environment. We didn't think he was going to get one done that night, but it was the first evening he was able to be in that, in the elk, in the environment. The next day I said, we're not going to put you in a blind. We're going to the top of the mountain and we're going to hike. And so we took the truck up to an area that was a little bit easier hiking. T-Bone's a big boy.
How big of a boy are we talking?
T-Bone's, I don't know. I think Michael said he was close to 4.
Okay.
400.
And 400. And just recently he had a leg removed, and it's kind of affected, but it's a whole different story. He's a beautiful human being.
Yeah.
That's no boy. That's a man right there.
That's a man. He's one of the best archery shots. One of the top archery.
There are a lot of really good
guys.
Guys that are really good archery shots that are really big guys.
Yeah. He's a big boy. So we brought him up on the mountain, and when I told Daniel we were going to bring him on foot, he's like, I said, just trust me. I know where the elk have been. We haven't disturbed them. They're coming up this canyon. They're doing this and that. So we walk him a few hundred yards up in some timber country. Well, a few hundred yards in timber country is like miles, on the flatland when you're walking over timber and everything else. And we ended up, I ended up doing a little walkabout, getting some bulls to follow me, thinking I was a hot cow because I sounded pretty sweet. So when these bulls got on me and they were coming for me, thinking I was a hot cow, I had to beat feet and start running. And I ran right by T-Bone. T-Bone, they're coming. And I ran right by T-Bone, got with Daniel, 70 yards away and started calling. These bulls came right by T-Bone, and at 30 yards, he smoked. I mean, you couldn't have placed an arrow in a better spot. And the bull died, 100 yards away. That was the very first bull. I think probably will be his only bull until he can get up into some country that he's killed. But going back to it, we have the opportunity to inspire. So a number of times throughout the year, T-Bone would text me and go, "Hey, I'm walking a lot. Hey, I stopped drinking soda. Hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing that." So he because he had such an experience of being able to be on his feet in elk country and kill his first bull.
Right, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is that, you can get inspired by seeing somebody else or being with other people that are doing things that you maybe might not be able to do, and then you train if you have the drive to do it. Like you're saying, stop drinking soda, stop, smoking cigarettes, whatever it may be, to get to that point, and then you feel like you accomplished something, and that's an awesome thing.
Well, I think that anytime that you can affect one person's life in a positive way, it's
worth it.
That is a connection. That is it's a spiritual thing, right?
That has to be so rewarding, like above everything else.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
Yeah, it really is. And like in the bio I sent you, I feel like I'm a man of service. I don't make a ton of money, but I am one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of different things.
Meat rich.
Meat
rich.
Yeah. So, everything from guiding to the wedding business to doing flooring. I'll be on my hands and knees doing construction, doing flooring, putting in a hardwood floor. It's not about my dollar, but I can turn around and go, you know what? That floor right there, a family gets to live on, and they get to cry, and they get to have Christmas and Thanksgiving, and they get to share memories.
Yeah.
I'm in service.
Yeah.
I'm performing weddings, so I create weddings for each individual couple, and I leave them with what I hope is the most amazing memories of the day, and that's being in service. And then when I'm on the mountain and I can inspire people to become better, it's not about me. It's about, their transformation. I've had men crying on the mountain where the hunt didn't even matter, but we got into that conversation. Or, showing respect for the animal. It's being in service to somebody else to help them become, to move to another level. And that's the most gratifying thing in the world. And I may not make a lot of money, but like I said, I'm one of the richest men in the world because I get to do things different every single day for somebody else.
And that's kind of, we started that mentor apprentice program on our website, and our whole thing was if we can help one person. Okay. And now it's not something that we get any money for. We get a lot of people from California because it seems like a lot of these young kids that they didn't grow up with hunting, but now they're getting exposed to it through social media or whatever, and they reach out to us. And it's very simple as just even like, no, you don't need the most expensive gear. You don't need a $2,000 bow. Like guiding them in those direct. This is how you sight in a bow, and this is how you sight in a rifle. That and just that whole process of that, and then giving them somebody that can talk to them and say, well, here's when you go out, this is what you want to look for. We've actually guided some mentored some guys, like 4 guys, to their first kill, and 3 of them were archery kills. So that was pretty cool on public land.
That's awesome.
So like that's really hard to do. On public land, there's so many variables that go into it that you can't say like, oh, this is a good spot, but then like, who knows,
Right.
like what can happen on public land.
Especially up here in Tahoe, we had one hunt where we were going in early in the morning. This area where we had cameras set up, had some nice bucks on the cameras.
And that was my spot, as a matter of fact.
We had cameras. That's my spot.
We had a couple. We were within about a mile of each other, but we all start heading into the woods, and then we start hearing a boom, boom.
There was a
boom.
rave.
There's a fucking rave going on in the middle of the night. I was walking up into my meadow that I was headed to, and I hear like the bass and
I call him. I was like, I think there's a rave going on by my tree stand. And he goes, "Don't worry, the music will stop at sunrise." And I'm like, it was. They stopped the music at sunrise.
Yep, that's funny.
Nobody wants to be up when the sun's
so
coming
then I
up.
get down, I pull the camera that was by the tree stand, and sure enough, I had deer and bear walking by 2 days before. And but
you don't know there's going to be a rave there
Yeah.
that night that we're going in to hunt.
and it was
that
totally
morning.
illegal.
And you were taking these guys in that had never hunted before?
No, this was just us hunting, but we had guys that were hunting with us. But that's just kind of like an example of
Oh, yeah.
on public land,
You never know what the hell is going to happen.
you have no control.
Yeah.
And it's so hunting's so dynamic. Like
It is. And, my friend Mark Warnke, who he and I have competed against each other in trained hunt competitions, we're doing what's called Hunting University. So we take people out who have never touched a gun, never hunted. There's a lot of people out there who want to learn how to hunt. You see all these things about people being preppers and wanting to know survival skills and everything else.
Bushcraft and all that.
Bushcraft. They don't know, and then they live in the city and they go, well, I don't have anybody to take me. How am I going to learn this stuff? I've got a friend, but am I going to learn the right thing from them? And it's so intimidating for them to, get into it. So what we do is we take people out who have never hunted before, and even if it's on a Texas hunt, there's a lot of different places we take these people, but we give them the full experience of what hunting is about. Everything from the ethics, the morals, the emotional part of it, how the weapon works, going through that.
The processing.
And then they get to kill their first animal, and they get to feel that. There's remorse, there's regret, there's the emotions are all over the place.
The adrenaline dump that happens.
In the hundreds and hundreds of animals that I've killed and clients have killed, I still have a huge respect for every single animal.
Absolutely.
And to show them that I'm willing to pray over that animal and give thanks and put the sage branch or the pine branch in their mouth and show respect for that animal, which was put on this earth to feed us. And they understand that, yes, it is sad to kill an animal sometimes, but I know where that meat came from. I shot that animal. Then we take them through the processing, whether it's gutting or doing the gutless method. A lot of people don't even know how to put meat in a cooler to keep it,
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
there's a
we
lot
go
of-
through that whole thing, and then they have that to go with wherever they want to head to in life. In regards to hunting, it's all of our duty as sportsmen and hunters to bring somebody else. So I love the fact, and I saw that on your website, the mentor program. I love that you guys are doing that, and I think more people can involve themselves in just, keeping an open ear and listening for those people that, hey, you hunt? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, that's your platform to say, would you like to learn how to do it? And would you like to put in for tags? Let me help you with that process, because if we don't do it, we're going to lose what we have, and being hunters. And we take a lot of we do a lot for the animals, and the conservation part of it. Part of the conservation is taking care of human beings who want to learn how to do it as well and recruit them. It's not just kids. There's grown ass adults who want to learn how to kill something.
And here's the thing
that's that adult onset hunting that we always talk about.
Yeah.
Good for them.
And here's
More power to
the
you.
thing of it is that here I grew up whitetail hunting my whole life. I move out here, but I'm still going back because I'm doing whitetail outfitting back there, so I'm not even hunting out here. So, like, I would have loved to have somebody who's like, oh, okay, don't wear that. Because I had all my whitetail sitting in a tree stand clothes. And the first time I went up hiking up a mountain, it was terrible.
Well, it's funny because we do get a lot of guys from the Midwest and the East that bring, they bring their bag in scent elimination and they got their sprays and everything else. And all of us guys, we still have blood on our pants. We just packed out elk. And they're like, do you want to spray down? You cannot do anything to pass an elk's nose. So don't worry about spraying yourself down, buddy. We're just going to play the wind because with a whitetail, you can't really get out of the tree stand and change things up. But with elk, you could haul ass down off the mountain and change your thermals and come in from a different direction.
Yep.
Save your scent elimination. That's something a lot of guys wouldn't even know.
Yeah, and speaking of guys hunting in the Midwest, they're probably not too familiar with the gutless method. Out west, it's kind of a familiar thing just with packing out elk and big game animals. But you want to go over kind of what that gutless method is for the people that don't know about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's my go-to.
I agree. I like it a lot, especially out here.
Yeah. Well, with us in the West, a lot of times we got to haul animals for many miles. Like those 2 cow elk that I was talking about, they were the gutless method. And I've got a couple videos that I do time lapses so people can see. I'll zip from the top of the head right down the back all the way to the tail, then I'll come down both sides of the hind end. And what I do is basically undress the whole animal and take off the hind quarter on one side and the front shoulder on that same side. Pull those out, put them in bags, take out the back strap as well because it's already zipped down the back. Right. So basically, from the center of the spine, I basically fold it towards the hoof, pull off everything on that side, take off the neck, flip it over, and I use the cape to keep the meat clean. And I also I carry a backcountry.
So you pull the hide from the head down
the spine.
Down the spine.
Yep. I cut it. I run my blade right from the back of the head right down the spine. Then I start to cape it off. And usually I'll take both back straps first, just so they're right there at the top, super, super clean.
Best meat.
Get from the neck, all the way down to where that hip bone, kind of crests around.
Yep.
And I take out both of those straps, put them off to the side, let them get cooled, and then I'll start to zipper it off, take off both quarters. I don't get into the gut at all.
So you do the front quarter and the rear quarter on one side,
and the neck.
That way you can flip it in the neck.
Yep, backstrap would be first. Take off the 4 quarters, the neck, flip it over, do the other 2 quarters and the neck, and then once all my quarters, the neck and the backstrap are out of the way, then I will go for the loins. That's the inside,
the inner loins,
the anterior part. And so what I do is I lay that animal down. The cape's not on it anymore, so you can see the ribs. You can see, if you look through, you can see the guts. So what I do is I make an incision right past that last rib and kind of where the hip is, and I'm able to push the guts down, work my hand in there with a blade, and take out the whole tenderloin without ever touching gut, without ever,
But that's got to be a kind of a tricky process.
It is. But the nice thing is I get to practice day in and day out on all these animals. So it becomes a very quick process.
You get the inner loin, but you leave the liver and the heart.
A lot of times I'll just reach in there and I'll grab that because I like that myself. So I'm willing to get dirty and grab the heart,
and the liver.
Get the liver, maybe the kidneys, take that stomach lining, bring that as well, so we can wrap up the loin in that and barbecue it, or however. But it depends on each client. Some of them may not want the heart or the liver. So a
lot of people don't like organ meat.
We'll leave that, but I don't know. Heart is one of the best. One of the best meats you can eat.
Let's face the facts. If you come across an animal that is dead, that's the first thing the other animals eat.
That's the first thing I eat.
Yeah.
But, so you can go through the gutless method and never have to get into the guts and get all nasty and see, and then load everything up and pack it out. It's all in beautiful form. If we can get one of our side-by-sides to it,
even better.
Even better. I will gut them, and then we'll get them back to our skinning rack. We'll winch them up. All of us will work on caping it off, and then we could haul the whole animal
Yeah.
to the butcher. But if we
Yeah,
have to
I
back
mean,
it out,
yeah,
there's no need to get into the gut.
better
and-
finish that
and
off.
In the
change it.
Midwest hunting, you don't really come across that very often because usually it's flat land. You can
Get a
you
quad
can
in.
gut
You
it.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you can get a quad. Like my farm, I would bring them out whole. I wouldn't even gut them in the field because I didn't want to leave the guts out there for, bringing coyotes or whatever. There might be somebody hunting,
In that
back
area.
there. 100 yards is a completely different, 150 yards is a completely different hunt from one tree stand to
And
the
that
next.
whole strategy that you guys have out there, and that's the beautiful thing about hunting is it's different everywhere you go.
Yeah.
You guys, you put me in the whitetail field, and even though I've had all this experience, you put me in the whitetail field. I've killed one whitetail buck in a tree stand. I'm like, I don't know. I had a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So I stayed on the ground and killed him that way.
Well, that's what I mean. Like when I came out here and first started hunting in the West, even though I'd lived out here for, 10, 15 years, but I was doing all my hunting back in the Midwest. I wish I would have had a Team Whiskey mentor apprentice program for somebody just to give me the idea of the gear.
Yeah.
The gear for one thing is a big thing because it's completely different gear. Clothing's different. Boots are different.
I learned
It's
that the
all
hard way.
different.
And and going back to the processing, any of you whitetail hunters that are out there listening to this podcast, you shoot a whitetail this year, leave it on the ground and go through the gutless method, or haul it back and go through the gutless method, and just give that a try. It's
Just
not
to
like-
learn it.
just to learn it and understand what we're talking about there, because you can bring it in and you can gut it back at the lodge. And I've done the gutless method on so many elk, and in a couple, the next day I walk out there and there's elk walking right by the damn thing. They'll flush the birds off. It's never been an issue. But
Well,
to understand how that whole process works, you can have an appreciation to why we do that in the backcountry to be able to haul that out.
Well, there was a friend of mine that I hunted with and back in the day, and he had an uncle that was a trapper in Alaska in the 50s and 60s. And his thought about that is that those deer are going to come by or those elk are going to come by because they smell what you're leaving behind. That's their buddy. They feel comfortable because of that smell. So, it's like, there's other people that say, well, once you do that, they're going to know that there's
And then
been
you
that.
the possibility of bringing predators in to the gut pile and all that.
Yeah.
Well, it is different when a whitetail buck can live on 20 acres its whole life
Yeah.
Exactly.
and be completely fine, or an elk that has thousands and thousands of acres. If I was hunting whitetail, I'd probably keep that place pretty dang clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd bring,
That's what I
I'd bring
did.
everything out, and that's
Yeah.
I respect that about that. But for the whitetail hunters out there, give that gutless method a try and see how it is to break down an animal in that way.
Yeah,
Once
even
you
if
get
you
it
bring
all
it
taken
back.
care of, then rip the guts and bring the rest of it in, and they can process the ribs or whatever else. But
Yeah.
it's interesting for them to check it out.
Yeah, I think we've done it a couple times. Just growing up, always gutted them. That was just a way to do it. And
We got a couple mule deers a few miles out up on some rocky terrain, and we use that method to be able to save time and get all the meat out because there's a couple deer down, so we had to
Now, if
make
we
time for it.
if we have an elk down late at night and we don't, I've got to get my client off the mountain, I will gut that elk and I will split it so that it opens up. The guts hold a lot of heat,
Yeah.
so I will gut it and I will split it where the hips are, and I will split it where the front shoulders are against the ribs, just so all the meat gets cool.
yeah,
And
that's
we'll
my
go
big
back
thing.
the next, and we'll go back the next day. But it's understanding you can gutless method, you can gut it and split it, just depending on your circumstance.
It
It's all
goes
different.
back to the old saying: "There's more than one way to skin a cat." It's like there's so many different ways to do it, and it's funny because I had a lot of guys that came from the South, and just what they would call and different, like what we call scrape or a rub, what they would call it, was completely different. I remember one guy's like, "Oh, there's a horn tree." Okay.
Horn tree.
Yeah, he kept saying it. Well, he kept saying it over and over. I was like, what the fuck's a horn tree? He's like, that tree over there where the bucks horned it. Oh, okay. You mean a rub?
Well, when they're coming out to hunt velvet mule deer and the guy calls it felt. I know this is a brand new game.
Yeah.
Nice felt on there.
Yeah, and it goes that so I think that's the beauty of hunting, is that it is like you said, here you are, you're an experienced guide, you take people out, you harvest hundreds of animals, but then here you go back into whitetail and you're like, holy shit, like this is a completely different ballgame. So that's the beauty of hunting, because and I always say this to everybody that we ever mentor. If you're ever saying that, if you're not questioning everything that you're seeing and thinking about, then you're not doing it justice, because you have to question even the prints that you're seeing, everything that you're doing. You have to question, even though you're coming up with your own analysis, you have to question your own analysis and think of all the possibilities of how that print got, why was that branch broken, what did it, so it's like it comes to that same thing. But then you go to a different terrain and a different animal, even though deer, mule deer, blacktails are similar, but they're different. And
well,
100%.
For me, even with all this experience, every single day I go out on the mountain, I'm open to learning something else, because I guarantee I'm going to learn something new every single day.
Yeah.
And that's, if you go into the mountains with an ego thinking you know it all,
it's when you get your ass whooped.
Your ass whooped. I go, even guiding clients every day throughout the fall, I still go out there and I learn stuff. I take it in and I go. I learn from guys who have never been out there before, because they see it in a whole different light. They're like, well, how come about this? And I'm like, I haven't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then you walk away a better man. Well, thank you for that. You were in service to me.
Yeah, and I think
or you can have an opportunity to explain something that you're like, well, yeah, I've done this forever, but never really explained why and how and why we do it like that for. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a beauty when we take people out, is that we always tell them is like, if you take a 10 by 10 section, 10 foot by 10 foot section of the forest, from the canopy to the top to the bottom, that's a lifetime of learning. It's a lifetime of learning. And, what's going through there, the tracks it's leaving, what's happening, what is edible at this time of year, what's edible at that time of year, what are they eating? Just being out here, I eat what they eat. So I see them eating, I taste it, because I don't eat a lot of it, but I eat it. And just like back in.
So when you're hunting bears, what do you do?
Roadkill. I'm in the dumpster down at the casinos.
Stopping by the Chinese place on the way back, right?
But I think that that is, like you said, you should learn something every time you walk out in the woods. And that, for me, going into the forest it's not just like going out to try to kill something. We've been reading a lot of quotes from Fred Bear. It's like, if you're going out there and the whole thing about it is the trophy, and you're missing the whole part of it. The biggest part of it is understanding, their nature, where they're bedding, where they're eating, where they're getting water, how they're traveling, when are they traveling. That's the biggest part. That's the biggest thing. It's like, I always tell people, you're setting up cameras and you got pictures of them at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't help you, because you can't hunt them then. So it's like, you got to find out where they're comfortable moving during the day. And, so we're totally online with that, as far as every day you should learn something when you go out there. And then also too, question, because you have to question everything, because if you're not questioning it, even what you think, as soon as whenever I hear a guy talk oh, well, this is what they do all the time, you're an idiot, because they're as dynamic as us. You don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different things in their life going on, more than ours.
Yeah.
I mean, we have things that all of a sudden, like, oh, well, I don't feel well. I make it to the gym an hour later, or, there's all these different things. Same thing's going on with them.
So when we're on the mountain for, as many months as we are, we become a product of our environment. From early season in July, when animals are still in the velvet and growing, all the way through when they're rubbing into their hard-horned, all the way to, through the rut and everything else, we become a product of our environment. And for somebody who is an experienced hunter to come out and be with a guide who's been immersed in it, we still don't know everything, but we've seen enough of the process that you can always learn. For me, I love going out with other guides in areas that I've never hunted and animals that I've never hunted. I want to learn from them.
Yeah.
That's
and
important.
then do you, like, what I noticed was when I would spend 3 months to 8 to 10 hours in the forest every day, your sense of smell, sense of sight,
like I said,
hearing.
You're a product of your environment. You hear, you see, you smell everything different. It's you become immersed in that.
Right.
So you pick up the things. So you can imagine an elk out there in the mountain or a mule deer in the mountain. They know what's changed.
Yeah.
They know what's going on around them. They know what's moved.
And a white-tailed deer even more, because he's on the same 40 acres his whole life, and you break a branch to cut a shooting lane. He's like, wait a minute.
Wait a second. That was done with a saw, not an antler.
Yeah. See that clean cut right there?
That's different.
That's different.
Yeah, I even noticed that when I was down in Florida. We were down there doing some events with Team Whiskey, and I had the opportunity to go bow fishing with Tampa Bow Fishing Charters. Really cool guy, Captain Ike. He,
Lucky son of a gun.
He's a pro staff for Bass Pro, and he does seminars on bow fishing. But I wasn't able to see past the water in some places. Like, he was able to see past that light refractory reflection of the water, where my eye wasn't trained to be able to look past that. And I'm like, man, I can't fucking see down there. He's like pointing fish out, and I'm like, I don't see him. And it's just like being out there and learning and training your eyes, your ears, your senses to be able to pick that stuff up. It doesn't happen overnight. You just have to be out there and experience it for it to happen.
Okay.
And I come down, to Redding to hunt with you. You're a product of that environment. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
For. Huh? It's coyotes. That's all I hunt for is coyotes. All right. I don't know what it is. They're annoying. That's it.
Well, one thing that we could all learn from him, he operates a saw.
No boy.
Saw gun.
You were talking about packing, how it sits like on your waist, right? Well, let me tell you, the rucksacks in the military, they pull you back. So the way how I knew the whole get up, roll over, push up, it's because I had to do that because I'm a saw gunner, and it's annoying.
Yeah.
And you know what the saw gun is, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. I'm my ammo bearer, barrel bitch, change my own barrels. Like that's all me. It's probably the funnest job in the military, but at the same time, it's I hate it.
Guarantee you fire the most rounds out of a lot of people.
Well, I think you
rounds a
need to
minute.
come over to Nevada and hunt some coyotes, or come up to our place and hunt coyotes. There's a lot of coyotes.
Hey,
up
don't
there.
tempt me. I might take you on the offer.
Yeah, we need to get him into him. For folks at home, that's D'Artagnan. He's one of our new hires on for Team Whiskey.
And a brand ambassador. He
And
started
brand
out as a
ambassador.
brand ambassador. And,
Holt 15. Check out the promo.
But yeah, we're gonna get him into bow hunting. He's only done rifle hunting and things like that, so get him into
Once
bow
again,
hunting.
even though he's experienced, he understands his weapons. He's a rifle hunter. Mentor program. Get him into something new. Let him see something different. Hunting a different season.
Yeah,
Opens up opportunity, but also, the awareness. You can't have.
Yeah, and I always try to teach people is like, become part of the forest. When you go out there and you're hunting, try to become part of the forest. Because once you become part of the forest, you're more likely to see stuff. But if you're constantly walking around there, romping around, and there's a way of learning how to walk through the forest too, So it's like, it's a whole thing. But I think most people that have never hunted they don't understand about like walking quietly.
No.
Or walking like an animal is the best
Exactly.
way to
Yeah.
put it, like an elk or a deer, where you're not just continually walking. You're walking, you're stopping,
Yeah.
you're looking around. Keep
So the
moving.
nice thing about like being in the military is like they taught us how, and so we do like the whole SILS, which is stop, look, listen, smell. And so we wear these ear muffs, the walkers, that they amplify the sounds.
The Walker
Mhm.
brand.
Yep. And so when you step on a pile of leaves, it really makes it that much louder. And so it kind of helps us to get into a training where if we can silence the sound while we're wearing those, for sure our enemy is not going to hear us coming up over the ridge or
Yeah, with the sound enhancement.
yeah. And
That's
so
pretty
we'll walk
cool.
like, I don't know, like 50, 100 meters or so. We'll stop. We'll let the birds come back to their chirping sound, and then we'll progress. And so, like, I'm sure that could help me out deer hunting, elk hunting.
I
And all.
Absolutely.
I taught a couple guys from the Midwest a valuable lesson, and Dave and Gary, if you're out there listening, you'll understand the story. so we're out there hunting, myself and one of my guides, Dobie, and these two guys, and they're used to the whitetail.
Dobie, what a name.
Dobie, he's a badass. Dobie's a mountain man. Anyway, so hiking all day, and we have to have some patience and understanding in regards to how they're moving through the mountains. But we're driving the Ranger back, and I slam on the brakes, and the other three guys are like, "What's going on? What's going on?" I jump out of the Ranger. I walk over to a stick, and I slam it with my foot, and I break it. I go, "You guys missed one," They're like, "Oh, were we that bad on the mountain?"
Yeah.
Hey, you guys didn't get
Hey,
all
a
of
little
them.
bit more.
You left
You
a
didn't get
couple.
all of them. I got the last one.
Oh,
Here, let me
man.
get that one for you.
More attention.
But hey, I wanted to go in. You kept talking about that. What is that competition? Train for the hunt, correct?
Train to hunt.
Train to hunt.
Train to hunt.
So I know what that is. A lot of people may know what that is. Can you explain it? Because from what I know, it's basically like a mixture of CrossFit, archery, putting it all together, being able to,
Yeah, it's a full-on event. Every event is different, and so it'll be a 2-day event. It will be a 3D shoot up in the the hills wherever it is, and that's a scored event. But then the fitness part of it is it's almost like a Spartan,
Like a Spartan
or
race.
Tough Mudder, but you got to shoot. So I'm just running through a very quick example.
Yeah, just like
so
do like a
you
couple.
have a CrossFit box.
Right.
Once the horn goes off, you run to the box. You do 50 box step overs with a 50-pound sandbag.
Right.
You grab your bow. You run 200 yards. You shoot a target, which is scored because your arrows have a number on it. You run back to the box and you do 40 burpees. Burpee over the box.
Right.
Grab
Screw
your
that.
bow, sprint with your bow, shoot. Come back, do 50 more box step overs with a 50-pound sandbag. Run to another target, shoot that target. Sprint back. You have a 50-pound
Are they 3D
sandbag.
targets or are they
3D targets.
Okay.
Then you do the sandbag getup, where you have to lay down on your shoulders. Shoulders have to touch. You have to stand all the way up, all the way back down for 30 with a 50-pound sandbag. Run up, do a shot, come back, do another 50 box step overs with a 50-pound sandbag. Run, shoot, come back, and then it would be
Then it's a combined-
sandbag over the shoulder. So you have a 80-pound sandbag, has to hit the ground over the shoulder, turn around, grab it again. So
Up and
and then
over.
you run to your target with your bow, shoot it, come back, and that's the midway point. Then you put on your backpack, your 100-pound backpack, and it is a all-out balls to the wall to the top of the mountain as fast as you can. You talk about a get up and go.
Is it kind of like rally racing or something where there's legs, or is it all combined into one? You got your shooting and your time score that combines
Everything
together.
is one. So you have your
So
time.
even when you start that ascent up the mountain, it's all
It's
continuated.
all part of it. So you got your time and then your shot score. So shooting under pressure. So I would go out and I would do sprints. I would do sprints or burpees, and I'd grab my bow. I would draw it back, and it's all about timing. And the guys in the military understand how to shoot under pressure. breathing, heart rate. When are you gonna make that shot?
Yeah.
So we have to score. If we don't score, we got minutes added to our time.
So you get like plus 5 seconds or 10 seconds.
We're talking 30 seconds,
30
minutes,
seconds.
and so you have to not only be very physical and fast, but you also have to shoot. So in every single one of the train to hunt competitions, I have always qualified for nationals. I did a competition in
Not to brag or anything. It's natural.
that was the level that I was at that I put myself to. But I went to El Dorado Hills and I did a competition there, and I crushed the physical aspect.
Hell yeah.
And then we got into the 3D shoot the next day. I was completely in my head. These guys were all gunning for me, and I love that competition. I love the fact that these guys are
trying to get at you
for that guy. And I totally failed at the 3D shoot. I didn't even qualify. I didn't even make podium. I haven't missed a podium. I didn't even make podium. And all these guys, I was like, F yeah, you guys crushed it. I understand that mental aspect. No matter how good you are, if you aren't, on any given day, it could be your day or it could be somebody else's day. And I didn't even qualify for nationals. I ended up going to nationals that year and winning the men's overall, beating all the 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 guys because I changed my strategy. On the 3D shoot, I spent more time taking pictures of butterflies and flowers than I did thinking about what I was doing on the shot.
So you just walked
I
up
was
and
so
shot.
in my head that I couldn't even make it. I mean, I was killing shit, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to score, I wasn't.
That's that
But-
whole target
So
panic
it doesn't
aspect.
matter how good you are if you're not paying attention and on the game, you can get crushed.
So would you say like most of that like revolves around discipline as well, like a discipline aspect to it, or
yeah, a lot of discipline, but also the mental aspect of it, just your focus and how you're going into it.
Archery.
I got into my head. and I was just
Archery
like,
is one of those things that I suffered target panic for like last
punching
couple
the trigger. Yeah.
Oh my god! And this year it's getting better. So like I'm starting to do things. Last year our hunting season got destroyed around here, and then what we had going on medically
Thanks to
with
the
the
fires.
family, we really couldn't travel and do any hunting. So, that. I didn't know what it was. He's telling me, he's like, well, you got target panic. I was like, what the fuck is that? I never heard of it. I
was
shot
like, look
archery
up
my
YouTube. Look up
I
YouTube.
shot my archery.
YouTube
I shot
it.
archery my whole life. So this year I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and then Nugent was on there, and he's like, oh, fuck, I'm 72 years old. I started suffering target panic.
Never had it.
It's the craziest thing because that's what I did. And I reached out to other guys like Stephen Don and Charlie Pappas, other guys that have Ryan Lampers, all guys that have competed in Train to Hunt that are phenomenal athletes and phenomenal shooters. And, me, I was at a certain level, and, not to be in the bragging aspect, but I'm making a point that even the guy that's up on top, if he's not on his game, he's not on his game. I had to reach out to these guys and go, I can't even keep a group. He said, I'm all over the place. What can you guys do? They referred me here. They said, this is what I do. This is what I do. I finally, I had to ask for help.
So what do you do?
I slowed down. I stopped focusing
everything
on what I was doing. I stopped focusing on the pressure that was coming behind me, the guys watching me, everything else. I literally took 500 photos of butterflies and flowers at the national championships. So there were guys going, Dave, it's your shot. I'm like, hold on 1 second. There's a butterfly right here. Took a picture of the butterfly.
Just to not focus on what you had to.
Thing. I didn't focus on it. I just relaxed.
Such
and
a tough physical hunting guide. Taking pictures of butterflies.
But
Hey, I wouldn't mess with them, okay?
I
I'm
had
sorry.
to mentally find my place to be able to, compete. I had to find what did
And it's
right
all
for me.
mental because, like, when you're out in a hunting situation and you pull back on an animal and you let that arrow fly, it's like you're right there in the Boilermaker. You're not focusing on that little 10 ring. You're focusing on making a clean kill.
Yeah.
And when you're focused on that little 10 ring or that 11 ring, depending on how the scoring is, it's a whole game changer.
Yeah. I had to not be too proud to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and then you have to be able to realize like you're human. And for me, the biggest thing that helped me was putting blue tape over my sights and pulling back and not even shooting.
Really?
Yeah, because that was the whole problem. I was having trouble focusing on shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, man, I
You
probably
taped off your sight, right? You taped off the housing.
taped off the housing of the sight with the blue tape so it didn't like destroy any of the fluorescent shit around it.
Okay.
And then I just pull back and hold in that 10 seconds and then,
Let it
release
down.
it, let it down. And then that helped me a lot. But still, still now, I still feel it. I still feel it. Like I'm shooting better now and I'm not back to where I was. But I feel
Some of those guys that I talked to, they said do that. Dave, draw back, go to your target, draw back, let the pin float. Some of the in trying to hunt, every different 3D target has a different objective. You have to draw, step over 3 feet to shoot. You don't get to see the target ahead of time.
Oh,
Then you
okay,
have to
so they
adjust
add
it.
that extra element
You have to draw and hold for 30 seconds
before you're allowed to let
before
it
you're
go.
allowed to shoot. There's the
I didn't
on
know
your
any of that.
knees. That's a whole different aspect to
Okay.
it. But those guys said, Dave, draw your bow, and then don't shoot. Just draw your bow, anchor, hold it, and then release. Don't even shoot it.
Yeah.
But then also go to your local archery shop that has a big wall. Draw back, close your eyes,
Yep.
lock in an anchor, and then just work on, have your finger on the trigger and then just back tension. Boom. And feel everything from your trigger finger to your bow hand. What is everything doing? And don't even give a shit where your arrow's hitting. Just think of that process and the whole,
And I still
the
do
whole
that.
back tension.
I still
Just-
do that with the eyes closed. I'll draw back. I'll lock in my jaw where I have my hand placement. And I'll get my nose right where I like it on the string, and then I'll open up my eye. And then if you do everything right, your peep will be perfectly aligned with your housing, and then you're ready to go. It's a good tip, definitely.
Yeah, and we used to do back in the day. We used to pitch black, draw back, shine a spotlight on the target, turn the light off, and then release, and then see where you're at. And that helps you stabilize because all of a
Helps you
sudden,
control your breathing and whatnot, focus.
Yeah.
Well, it takes away some of your senses so that you're
It takes
Yeah.
away
focused.
the most important one, your sight.
Right.
You can't see
Yeah.
what you're shooting at.
It's interesting. Going back to trying to hunt once again, COVID kind of got in the way of being able to hold those competitions. There's rumors that they're going to continue that. One of the other shots is you have to draw back and shoot, and you have to knock another arrow and shoot in a specific time. So it's really fast.
Like
so as
what?
soon as
What are we talking, like 15?
5
Okay.
seconds.
5
Okay.
As soon as you draw and shoot, you have to knock another arrow, draw and shoot. I mean, you're talking about all different scenarios, but that's something we can all do on a daily basis, whether it's draw and hold for 30 seconds, a minute, and then fire, or shoot and then follow up with another shot as quick as you can. Draw back, move into a different position, and then range it with your own eyes. Practice that.
Yep.
All right, so you mentioned the train to hunt, and then before COVID, 2019, you won. Explain it
The men's national championship overall.
overall. So
So-
you won the Masters, which is us old bastards.
40 to 50.
Okay.
Yep.
Damn, I know. What do they call over 50 then?
Not allowed to compete.
It's not allowed to-
Seniors.
Yeah.
There are guys that and so here's the interesting thing. So I
Damn, I can't
so
even
I competed.
compete.
There was an elite level, and that's a different category because it was a different type of competition. There was different distances, so that was elite. Charlie Pappas, one of my good friends out of Colorado, he won that. It was different than the overall event, which I won the men's Masters, but then the overall, and that's the 20 to 7.
And how old were you when you won it?
45.
Okay.
So
How old are you now?
That's badass.
I'm 47.
Okay, all right.
I'm almost 50.
You're
But you know
young.
what? I feel like
You're young
I feel
to
like
me,
I'm 30.
you're old to them.
I feel like I'm
Hey,
30.
he's older than my adopted dad. Okay, so
I could be your dad.
oh no.
But here's the thing. What I have found out that men in their 40s to 50s can sometimes have more heart, more drive, more grit
Yep.
than those who are younger, because the younger guys haven't been through what it takes to, not taking anything away from guys that category, but for me to compete against a 20-year-old, you know, I've got a lot of things against me, but I also have a lot of things for me. And one of those
Experience.
is I've gotten the shit beat out of me. I've been on the mountain in the dark. I've been in freezing temperatures. I just had to endure, and I had to get grit.
Right.
And
Endure.
And like Stephen Don said, you know, one of my buddies, he's like, you know, grit and heart will overcome everything. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
If that 20-year-old is
It's
a
all
is a
it's mental.
badass, but he doesn't have the capacity to get to the top of the mountain and
Yep.
know that, oh, my legs burn, but it's not going to kill me, or it's dark, it's not going to kill me, or it's cold, it's not going to kill me.
It's
I'm
the
just going to
mentality.
endure. It's a mentality.
Well, with everything, like your mental state is going to give up on you before your body actually will. And so that's what they teach us in the military. So when we're doing our PT tests, like you start getting tired, you're like, all right, I want to give up. But your body can actually keep going more than what you expect it to.
Oh yeah.
So like even when you're rucking, and for anybody who's like military out there who understands this, like
What is rucking?
rucking, you're hiking. It's like
For
just
people
hiking.
that-
hiking with the pack.
Yeah, you're just hiking with all your gear on your back, and at that point, like you got your plate carrier on, you got your freaking weapon, you got your ammo, and you got all your shit on you, and it's
you're
like
carrying, how much does your weapon weigh?
it weighs like 22 pounds.
22 pounds.
That's a
Yeah.
heavy weapon.
22 pounds.
That's a
Let me
heavy
tell you,
weapon.
it,
Yeah.
And
It's
the
a lot of
ammo
fun.
and everything else.
and then like you got your barrels. I'm not exactly sure how much those add on the extra weight, and then like your drums are 200 rounds, and
Well,
so
that weighs a lot.
So if you're carrying your full combat load, which is 1,000 rounds, that is extreme amount, and it really like it could kick your ass. Now the max I've actually ever carried was 800 rounds, and let me tell you, I felt like a bitch afterwards. Like
And those saws, they shoot 308, correct?
no, they shoot a 7.62.
7.62 by 39.
Yes,
So the AK round or by the 51?
I think it's actually. I'm not exactly quite sure. I'm pretty sure it's by the 39.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure. Now there's gonna be some guy out there's like he's wrong, you know.
But there's always going to be that guy.
Oh yeah, I mean
There's
you know, like,
always that guy.
I've only been doing this for 3 years, and the entire 3 years being in the military, I've been a saw gunner. My very first drill, I was a saw gunner in the middle of summer. That's the greatest part. Is I'll be going to Louisiana from July to August for
Hot.
Yep, XCTC, first time over there. But thankfully, infantry, you go to Fort Benning, Georgia, and that's where the home of the infantry is, in the swamps and the humid weather.
Good for those guys. More
Sticky.
power to you, and God bless you.
Yeah.
You know, you talking about the grit. I think it's important for no matter what kind of training you're in. Our society's become very
Weak.
weak. We have instant gratification.
Yep.
You know, what are you doing to not be complacent? Not only in your relationships, but also your physical aspect. When I go to the gym, and I was listening to a podcast, and they talked about, you know, don't give up on your workout. You know, you get to rep 8, but you're shooting for 10. You're like, oh, you know, that's good enough. No, it's not good enough. Set yourself a goal and kick your ass until it's done. There's times in the winter. I live in Zephyr Cove. There's snow on the ground. It's 40 degrees, and I go swimming because, you know, and it's that cold therapy, and we can talk. You know, that's a whole different rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But we talk about, you know, my body. Man, it's cold out. Maybe I don't want to do that. No, you know what? Get your fucking ass up and go jump in that water. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna have the benefits of that. In 2 seconds, you're gonna feel great when you get out. What do you do?
2 seconds is a
What
long
do you
time.
do in life on a daily basis? What do you do to create grit? When you wake up in the morning, do you give yourself 5 seconds to get your ass out of bed, or do you just sit there and be lazy and go, I'll get about
I'll
it.
hit the snooze and 15 minutes
No,
later.
I mean,
You
I enjoy
get
my
out of
sleep,
bed.
so
And again, Kevin, I know you because I see you at the gym every day at you know, about the same time. I'm up at 5:15. I'm out of bed. I throw my shoes on. I go straight, grab my coffee, go straight to the gym. There's discipline there, and I have found that creating that grit, I don't want to allow myself to become complacent, because that's when I start to like, I can get away with this.
You start giving up on yourself.
Very soft.
Yeah. And then the thing of it for me, you know, it's a completely different thing because, you know, I had a knee injury where I almost had to lose my right leg above the knee in 2004. At that point was the only time I ever prayed for myself. And I said, give me my right leg and I will never take another day for granted. And so for me, it's a completely different thing for like a lot of people because everybody has their own journey, right? But, you know, physical fitness and spirituality, I think they're really combined. And, you know, I want to touch on a base, you know, before we end this thing. You know, you're a minister, so obviously you're a man of God.
Ooh, let's go.
Okay. So is there anything more spiritual than arrowing an animal?
You know, every time I'm out there,
Maybe a birth of a child.
I pray to St. Hubert, because if it is their will, if it is the will of God for me to take that animal,
yeah,
it will happen. My arrow will find its mark. My bullet will find its mark. It will be a clean kill. And I go into it knowing that if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. If it's not, I don't let it get to me. If a client misses an animal, I don't let it get to me because it was not meant to be.
Right.
And I've had clients that missed a number of animals.
Yeah.
And I have the opportunity to tell them, dude, don't worry about it. No big deal. And they're like, you're not pissed? No, I'm not pissed. I don't care. This is about the whole experience. Let's get out there again and go do something different. And then these guys often kill another animal and they're like, man, that was the coolest thing. I said, well, we could have shot that one super easy and it didn't happen, but then this happened and you go away with that. There's a plan. Things don't happen by coincidence. There's a plan out there.
There's a reason for
The
it.
universe is as it should be. And so you can't struggle against a certain moment in the universe because then you're struggling against the whole universe. You're never going to win that battle, right? So, but the spirituality of it, the quiet of the forest after you arrow an animal. Is there anything more special than that you've, as a man of God, like
when you take the time to acknowledge it, when you slow down and just be patient and you acknowledge it, that's when you really get into the depth of the spirituality of hunting. You know, some guys will just go shoot and they'll be like, high five, yeah, screw.
I don't like that. So I gotta say,
for me, it's like all of a sudden once the shot's done and I see what the animal does and, you know, whatever it may be.
A heart kick or...
I'm able to just calm the mind, calm the heart, reflect on everything that just happened, and then make our, you know...
The work starts.
Create the work, whether it's finding the animal because something happened. It's being patient. It's being aware of all your surroundings and taking that into consideration. But it's also respecting the whole, you know, the whole process of it.
Yeah, and then, you know, it's like it's such a spiritual thing that, you know, it's the sights, the sounds, the smells, you know, the feeling that you get, you know. I mean, it's like, for me, I'm not one of those guys like, yeah, I smoked him. Man, I still, even if it's a doe, like... Oh shit!
The adrenaline.
In the hundreds of animals, hundreds, my clients or myself, everyone, I just take the time to reflect and go, man, that animal lived on the mountain. It did it lived a free life, its whole life. It drank spring water. It ate, it saw the winters, it saw the summers, it saw the falls, you know, everything that went along with it. I reflect on all of that and just have appreciation. Makes the meat so much sweeter. And then when I cook that steak or make that burger and I'm able to eat it, whether it's raw or it's cooked, every one of those bites has a story.
Yeah.
And when you relive that memory, when you relive it and you take it into heart, and you have respect for that animal, it gets
Well,
deep.
the natives feel like you take on part of the spirit of that animal when you consume it and you harvest it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, in today's world with social media and hunting shows and, we kind of lose sight of that, right? Because, like, it's like this whole COVID thing. Did you get COVID?
I did. I was guiding in Mexico for 2 months, and I got COVID down in the Sonora Desert. 2 hours from the nearest town and no cell service, and I was still guiding.
Man.
So did it knock you down to where you couldn't do anything?
I was still guiding.
Okay.
I had to leave camp because I didn't want to get anybody sick, but I was still guiding. I was still on the mountain.
So did it feel like anything, like you were going to die or anything?
No. I just had a fever and some body aches, but I was still out there. We were still, and it was at a time when we were able to, it was during the mule deer rut down in Mexico, because I guided down there as well during the December, January, February.
And what, plug them while you're here, what?
Old Mexico Hunting Company.
Old Mexico Hunting Company.
Down in the Sonora Desert.
They got big mule deer down there?
Big mule deer.
Giant mule deer from what I've seen.
And bighorn sheep and coos deer. Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
a shit ton of coyotes.
Hey, let's go.
Coyote, can he bring his saw?
Speaking of which, I got stuck on my pride. I made a huge mistake. Okay, for everybody out there. It's a 5.56 by 45. I was questioning myself, and I had to look up the exact round. It's not a 7.62. It's 7.62 is for the 240.
240.
240, yes.
Okay.
So 249 is just an AR round. I was just got done watching a video of a 240.
But then the big question is,
I shoot an arrow with a broadhead.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
How many rounds per minute?
How many rounds of
Per minute on your broadhead.
yeah, right.
One?
One.
Okay.
One
How
round
many rounds per minute on yours?
1,000 rounds.
1,000 rounds. Okay.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes.
I think he can
Yeah,
do
but
it. I
see-
think he can do a better
See,
job
but
than
here's the
Coyote
thing.
Control.
Everybody knows where the fuck you are. Nobody knows where I am.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is when I start firing, you're not gonna know where to run because
Yeah.
I'm an area, you're a point. So
Yeah. Here's the
I
difference
mean-
is that they're running from where he is.
all I gotta do is
They
just
don't
walk
really
the gun
care
up.
where you're at.
No, I'm fine, I'm just kidding. Honestly, like you were saying, like you said, shoot me with the gun. Don't shoot me with the arrow because that's probably the most
Yeah.
painful way to die.
Yeah.
So,
I told him that. I told him, it's like, you're working for me. If you ever want to kill me,
I don't know why I would. So
Yeah.
let's just like clear that off the
well,
table.
we're a good employer. We take care of our people, which is something.
Yeah, it's
we need
gone.
To go get some more whiskey.
You want mine?
You know, this,
I think I need
this
to lay off. I
podcast
should
was
stop
pretty
my wrong.
exceptional. We all have Team Whiskey glasses.
And you're taking
mine's
that
got,
one with
mine's
you?
got a broadhead in it.
Can
Yours-
you name
I'm
the
the
broadhead?
fisher. Ooh,
Do you know that broadhead?
let's see this bow hunter.
Yeah, I can.
What is it?
It's on the tip of your tongue.
It's not what he shoots, obviously.
Starts with an M.
This is gonna be terrible.
All right, let's get the Jeopardy theme song going.
But here's the thing: is we've I don't know how much whiskey was left in this decanter.
But it's empty.
Beautiful glasses that you guys have, and we sat here just drinking whiskey and talking smack and enjoying the hunting talk. I really appreciated the time that we got to have. We pass each other in the gym.
Yeah.
We share a few stories.
And I got to tell
But then
you,
when we
like,
sit down and
one
we're
thing
like-
I got to say is this guy, Dave, like, the crazy freaking workouts he does. I'm like, how is his knee not dislocating? I look at these workouts as an older guy, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like, that would my knee would dislocate at that point. He does some crazy workouts. So, like, yeah, I mean, he not only, like, preaches it, but he lives it. And then the fact that he's a minister and he understands the spirituality of hunting,
It's just much more than just
marriage. You do weddings. That's the thing.
hundreds of weddings a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I dress up in a suit and tie, and I go out there and
Do you keep the beard?
I do.
is
All
it
right,
camo?
No.
And then do you
and a lot of those people don't even know that they have no idea of what my life is
And
all
in
about.
California, that's probably a good thing.
do you shoot a flaming arrow off the stage like Ted Nugent used to?
No, I don't. I shoot the dove out of there. But, the thing is
Let the doves loose. And you pull up
every
the flag.
every day is different for me, and
Yeah.
I live a life of service. So if I'm performing weddings, I'm vested in that moment for them 100%. And when I'm on the mountain with guiding client, I'm vested in that moment for them. And a lot of the weddings, they have no idea what my life is about. And when you look at my Instagram, I haven't posted anything, even though I have a lot to post, for probably a month now. But the stuff that I put out there, I believe should be authentic. It should be what I'm doing. Nothing you see on there is filtered or fake.
And what is your
Exactly.
Instagram for the folks at home so they can give you a follow and check you out?
Hollywood Dave 00.
Hollywood.
Okay.
Dave.
And then why
So-
Hollywood Dave?
The good man right here.
So here's the thing: is way back when I was with Outback Outdoors, which
Yeah.
was a hunting show on the Sportsman's Channel. It was a bow hunting show with Adam Wells, Jim Brannon, Trevin Stoltzfus. It was a bow hunting show. It allowed us to tell our story. It allowed us to share our experiences with people, help them learn, be of service to others. I was also doing covers and photos for the Cabela's catalogs.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, you're a photogenic guy.
Well, thank you. But I was doing photos, and it was just as a talent.
I wish I could grow a beard like
everything
that.
else.
I wish I could grow
But
a
the thing
beard
is, Grady Rawls. I was adamant about not doing any social media. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't want any of it.
I was the
They're
same way.
You guys, Dave, you have to do this. You got to do it for the show. Everything else. So they created
Hollywood Dave.
an Instagram
Hollywood
for me,
Dave.
and it was Hollywood Dave 00 for Outback Outdoors, and I can't get rid of it. It's
So
it's stuck.
And then I have your bio right here. It says also known as Dirty Dave.
What's
What is
that?
that? What's the Dirty Dave
What's
about?
Dirty Dave about?
The other guys call me Dirty. I'll leave it at that. It's just dirty.
Okay.
Dirty
I mean,
Dave.
come on, you can't take a guy too serious like that if he loves hummingbirds that much, right?
Yeah.
You know, hummingbirds are pretty sweet. I love hummingbirds myself.
So that's outside of my cabin. I've had
Oh.
bears walk onto my cabin door, right there, and hummingbirds. And it's about enjoying every moment,
Oh, yeah.
every animal. Well,
Every life is beautiful.
every life is beautiful. So I'll sit there in the morning, and I feed those from July till when they're supposed to leave. You're supposed to pull down the hummingbird feeders so they do migrate.
Yeah.
It's safe
So
for
they
them.
don't freeze
But
it,
I'll
'cause
have 20 hummingbirds just zipping around my head. And you know what? It's the magic of nature. It's when you look at the small flowers and the small details of
Yeah.
life, and you appreciate that. You appreciate that in every human being, the little intricacies that they add value to the lives around you, the little details that you can add to somebody's life. It's the small details like a hummingbird.
Yeah.
I think
Having a
hummingbirds
For
are
me,
a badass
for me,
animal.
Hunting is not about like harvesting an animal. It's about connecting with nature, and you connect with nature whether you're smelling the soil and the leaves
Or eating whatever the
decomposing.
animal's
The
eating.
forest back in the Midwest has a completely different smell than the forest out here. You know?
I can't tell you how many hunts I've been on where I could have pulled the trigger, but I didn't.
Oh yeah.
And I came home with nothing, but I was richer for that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, and that's a fact. I mean, if you're, there's a bunch of Fred Bear quotes. If people want to go Google Fred Bear quotes, and a lot of them have to do with like, if you're hunting for the trophy, you're missing the point of hunting.
You're missing the
and
beauty of it.
tracking. Yeah, and the beauty of it, and the beauty of it is like what you were talking about earlier with the guides and how you guys work together and how it becomes this camp and this family. That is the primeval thing. This is like the caveman part of hunting. That we need this as men. We need that communion of men together And there is no better way to do it than hunting. Now, granted, I've been a soccer player my whole life. I love soccer. Soccer is great because here we get on a field. There is no plan. It evolves, and you battle together. And hunting is kind of like the same way, because like you're battling through it only matters is the success of the group. So if you're out with 5 guys hunting and one person gets a kill, that's a success. And if you don't look at it as a success, then you're missing the point of hunting.
Well, I mean, a lot of guys, if you're out in a hunting camp, you say a couple guys get a couple bucks down, they get that bitter deer face.
Bitter
Have you seen
deer
that
face.
before?
Yeah.
The bitter deer
Have I
face.
seen that before? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that before.
Bitter deer face.
Yeah. And that one is like, you can't, that is their own ego, right? I mean, that is their own ego. For me, I've never been more happy when 2 years ago, not 2021, but 2020, we hunted. Him and I didn't get anything, but we mentored 2 guys to their first archery kill, their first kill ever. And it was their first archery. And it was an archery kill. Okay, we didn't get anything. But, an assist is like, you beat more people with an assist on a soccer field than you do just scoring a goal. Because usually scoring a goal, you just beat the goalie.
Take the ego out of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Get your ass kicked in a trained hunt and be grateful for getting your ass kicked.
So if people are interested in looking into Train to Hunt, or they want to maybe sign up for it, where can they go do that, and where can they find more information about it?
That's evolving right now because Train to Hunt kind of took on a different life through COVID.
Okay.
It would be through Train to Hunt. You should definitely follow them and understand that Train to Hunt is a philosophy, not just a
Competition.
A competition. Train to Hunt
It's a
is
mindset.
a daily activity. It is a mindset. Kenton Claremont has been a leader in that respect. Everything you do on a daily basis should be for something in the future, and be aware of your presence. Take everything for, appreciate everything that's going on around you, every little detail, but know that Train to Hunt is about the end game, being the best you can be at the end result.
Well, one thing we want to shout out about is like, you have a lot of partners in the outdoor industry. Yeti, we all know Yeti. Awesome products. I actually got the biggest Yeti they make down in the in the garage.
That's a perfect one for elk.
Okay, Hoyt. I mean, everybody loves Hoyt. I mean, I'm a Matthews guy, but like everybody talks about Hoyt. Marsupial gear. Talk about them.
Love those guys.
What do they make?
The bino harnesses.
Bino harnesses.
And it's for me to get it to beat the crap out of every product that I use. Every one of those products that you see that I'm associated with is because I believe in what they do. I believe in the product, and I use it on the mountain all year,
Day in, day out.
And Maven, I love their
optics.
Their glass is incredible.
Their optics are incredible.
Yeah, I mean they're pricey, but they're not Swarovski pricey.
You pay for what you get.
Yeah, and that's for sure.
And this year I was super impressed.
Wilderness Athlete, we want to thank you for bringing them on with us for our shoots.
Yeah, they're
this
going to
year.
come down to the Bear
Valley.
Yeah,
Bear Valley shoot that you guys are doing. I think that's
they
great.
They donated some product for our raffle,
Yeah.
and 100% of all those raffle proceeds go to Giving Hope Cancer Care Kits, and they provide kits.
Wilderness
for
Athlete also sponsored Train to Hunt.
Yeah, and then also Initial Ascent.
The backpacks.
Yeah,
I can't haul all the meat off the mountain.
I'm
without
buying
them.
one now. See, so
We're going to talk about that.
So did you talk to the owners and say, hey, you guys need to maybe extend those wings out a little bit?
Those
so that
those
they can
wings will hold hold squirrels,
But maybe
all
like
the way to moose.
do they come out flat? Do they come out flat, or do they loop up so that you can actually hook something
They
on
come
there?
out flat and they
Hook
and
up.
they hook up like that.
Yeah.
The wing on is about
But then you
So
strap
about
it
2
so it's
inches.
tight, so it's not flat.
one strap.
One strap.
Around each one,
I like
just so
that.
they don't pop up.
I like that
From a
'cause I've-
squirrel to a moose, you can carry.
I've packed out in packs before, and you get that pullback that you're talking about, and the left and right shifting, and you're like trying to catch yourself.
And
so.
then goat knives. Like they have like that one knife
They've
that
got
has
hard.
all
They've got hard blade knives, fixed blade knives, and they also have
The replaceable.
the replaceable that
which
I
are
use
like
for caping out.
yeah.
I prefer to carry one of those on the mountain with just a couple extra blades, and being able to process a full elk the proper way with one blade.
And then they also have that one that has all those different
They
the
all-
hex heads
yep.
and everything
For
that
the
you,
bow guys that
Yeah,
need to be
yeah.
able to have a little stuff in the backcountry that's super light.
yeah.
Those goat knives have they're implanted into the handle, so you
Right,
can take.
and then the bits actually get wrapped with a rubber O-ring, so they stay in the handle,
Yeah.
and you're able to access those.
Okay,
when you
then
need 'em.
Hamsky archery.
the number one archery rest in the country.
Yeah.
I agree with
The
that.
yep.
I agree
number
with that.
one.
Hamsky.
I was just on the phone with Sean Greathouse, who I've been friends with for years. They were a sponsor of Outback Outdoors. I have even though I left Outback Outdoors 4 years ago to just continue to just guide and just do my thing. Trevin Stoltzfus and I are still great friends. Hamsky, I still put them on every single bow.
And they have limb driven and cable driven
Yep.
options, right?
You go to the national championships, and 90% of the guys will be shooting Hamsky archery.
Yep. They make
And
good
then
stuff.
Onyx. I mean,
Everybody knows Onyx.
Everybody knows Onyx, and that's
we use it.
we use it, and it's a great app. But I do got to say that like a lot of people that we've mentored, it's like pull your head up out of the Onyx and
Well,
see what the
and
hell's
that-
going around you.
Right.
Like it's put the tracker on.
For us, it's really important in Utah and Wyoming because we have to know the landowner boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
We've got to know that. You
Yep.
can't corner
And the
across.
zones.
You've got to know the zones. You got to know the land. So
And-
we rely 100% on that for all our guides. And as the head guide who's running the camp, I want to be able to communicate with every one of my guys, every client. I want to know where he's at, and if we have an animal down, all you got to do is send us a pin, and all the guys go in there to pack that animal.
Yeah,
out.
and Onyx is great for anybody that's hunting public land. You can see where the borders for
Yeah,
BLM
for
land
us,
is.
we kind
Where
of like
private
go along the borders of the D zones and the X zones. X zones are the draw tags. D zones are the ones that you can get over the counter.
And have
So-
respect for the zones you're hunting. Have
Yeah,
respect for the
yeah.
Department of Wildlife and the game wardens that are out there and the other hunters who drew another unit. Just
Okay,
know where you're hunting.
now the Phelps game calls.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh yeah, you says.
okay, so are they all diaphragm calls?
Diaphragm calls and some,
two bugles.
bugles. I've
Do
used
they have
them
the-
for years.
Do they have the cow call where you don't have to do the diaphragm, or do
Yep.
they?
Yeah. But for me, I'm all about diaphragm. I'm all about having something in my mouth 24/7. And even the
Okay,
next
I
year,
won't make any jokes about that. I
This is the point where I need to excuse
that's-
myself.
Okay, that's
Sorry,
that's
guys.
where the whiskey came into play.
Yeah.
Is
Military
Yeah.
humor.
See, this
We're
is where
out.
the whiskey comes in.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
Like,
absolutely. They've been an integral partner. Like I said, everything that I use is to make me a better guide, a better hunter, a better person on the mountain because I owe that to my clients and I owe it to myself. And so, these guys that I work with, I know they provide a product for me. And, when a guy spends 7 months on the mountain doing whatever, guiding, when he's 7 months on the mountain, that the products he's using have to be good. And that's who I choose to partner with.
Exactly.
well, everybody, this was a great podcast, and if you want to go hunt elk in Utah and you want to get out west and you want to have that hunting camp feeling, go to R&K.
R&K
Yeah.
Hunting Company. Where can they find you? You want to kind of give a little info on real life prices for people, just so that everything's out in the open
Yeah.
for a mule deer hunt, elk hunt? What is it?
Yeah, it's 12.5 for elk. It's about 18 for deer. We've got amazing genetics up there in the Uintas. 22,000 for Shire's moose.
Wow.
Yeah.
So moose, like that's
And we have a lineup of guys. I mean, that's got to be on your bucket list.
yeah.
Yes, you do get what you pay for. We've
Yeah,
got
and
quality of
You're
animals.
talking.
You have the total
And then
experience. I guarantee you go away from this hunt, and you'll talk about this hunt the rest of your life.
And then like success ratio. Everybody wants to know that. What's that?
Success ratio. I mean, it's hard to put that on, but with our elk, 100% opportunity.
Okay. Okay. Well, that
100% opportunity. Leave it up to you.
and then
There you go.
opportunity. When you're talking about an archery hunt, what is the range of shot that you expect people?
A
to
lot
be
of
able
our
to make?
rifle kills are in archery range because of how my guides hunt, how we call, the places we hunt, understanding the animal. A lot of our rifle kills are, I'd say 50% of our rifle kills are within 75 yards.
Okay, then archery. What is it that you if you come to if you're going to come if a client's going to come to you, what would be the yardage range that you would expect them to be able to make?
Or where would you tell them to set their pins up for
30
that
to
hunt?
50.
30 to 50.
30 to 50 yards. Yeah.
And that's
And
doable
here's
for
the
a
thing
lot of
about
people.
hunting with the R&K Hunting Company. Wyoming, you have to draw a tag. And our secretaries, the owners, they work with helping you get drawn. In Utah, we have CWMU tags. CWMU tags allow the landowner and us a certain number of tags depending on what the Department of Wildlife has determined. So say we have
Is that
30,
for like
35
is that
deer
for
tags,
predation and like predation
60
permits?
elk tags, and 5 moose tags. We have those tags. We sell those tags, so it's a guaranteed tag. So that's also what you're getting in regards to the price.
Oh,
You
okay. So
get-
you're like you can get it.
you can get it if you want to hunt. If you want to hunt,
You don't have to
Shire's
wait
moose,
15 years.
You just book the hunt with us. and
Because
you've
like
got the tag.
Justin's the luckiest guy. So like that elk,
I always come
that's
out
a
lucky.
Thule elk.
Oh,
First year,
I applied first year.
He
drew the
gets it.
tag. One of 3 people, and all is California. They got the
You
tag.
sound like Remy Warren. Remy Warren was struck by lightning, and everything since then has been just.
it was funny
right
because
in
like
line.
he's like, oh, I got a new job. I don't think I can go do the hunt. And I'm like, no, you're going to go do this hunt. He's like, okay, Dad. Like I'm going to go down there. I'll shoot a bull on Saturday morning, first morning of the hunt. And then we'll dress it out and get it all processed, and we'll come back on Sunday night. I'm like, okay, that's great idea. But, that doesn't always work. But, like, he's that guy. Like, he's always been that guy.
and that's okay. It's his story.
Yeah. And,
It's his story that's different from mine. And I apply for states, but I'm not a points guy. I will do the over-the-counter just to be able to get out in the middle of nowhere.
That's
to
us.
hunt.
That's us.
Just being out there is the most
Well, and then
important
I got to
part.
give this
well, it's
other
making the
story.
memories too that matters the most.
Cincinnati, where we're from, has the second largest Oktoberfest next to Munich. I'm waiting in line because he's like 4 years old. He wants an apple strudel. I'm waiting in this line. This line is like, I may not get there for a day, right? It's so long. All of a sudden, he comes back with an apple strudel. And I was like, how did you get it? He goes, I just went up and looked at the apple strudel, and this German lady just gave it to him. So that's the kind of guy he is. And it was funny because the
He's a
other
very lucky
2
man,
guys
okay?
that were waiting for that Thule elk tag, they're waiting 12 and 15 years. And they're like, oh, so you're that guy. And I'm like, yeah, he's that guy.
Good for you. More power to you.
So I wanted to say, like you're saying, like you're not the richest, in wealth, or all money in a worldly sense, but like spiritually, like it sounds like you have a lot of great memories. it sounds like you see like a lot of happiness in people. And for me, as not being able to go out hunting very much, I think that's like awesome, because I don't want my guide to be all about money, you know. So I would definitely, I'm probably going to come to you. I would recommend you, because I feel like a lot of people, they worry about financial wealth, being rich in a worldly sense versus being rich in a memory and godly spiritual sense. So I want to say thank you for being a leader like that. That means a lot to a young man like me.
I appreciate that.
I just wanted to.
Thank you very
just
much.
Want to throw it out there.
That's one of those things that I just live. I live a very simple life. I don't get overextended. I don't worry about a dollar. But every experience that, you know, just like today, was huge for me. Just being a part of it and creating those memories and being in service. That's where you are rich. Because at the end of the day, no matter what we accumulate or what our bank accounts say, we can't take any. We're all going to be in the same 6-foot box.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live
on your
every
last day,
to
you'll
its
be thinking about
fullest.
all those memories and all that time.
I'm going to give you my fullest, because that's what I owe to you and to myself.
Well, when I did my whitetail outfitting back in Ohio, it was the poorest county in the state of Ohio, and I would see these people and these families that would get together every Sunday, go to the same little church that had his and her outhouses behind it. Okay.
No indoor plumbing.
No indoor plumbing. Like this is like the typical, like if you would think of a little white church with a little steeple on top. This is what it was.
White painted.
Yeah. Let's verify that.
White painted. Okay, yeah.
White painted exterior church.
Okay,
and then
chill.
I would come back here and I would do
Nobody get
personal
offended.
training with these people in Glenbrook, which are
Multi-millionaires.
Multi.
Billionaires.
Those multi-billion-dollar houses
Yeah.
are second homes.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and these people are paying cash for these things, right? And I would look at this and I would see these guys that I was training. Then I would go back to Ohio and see these guys that were working their family farms, and they would get together with 4 generations every Sunday and go to church together. Who is a richer man? For me, it was that guy back in Ohio. He's living on 40 acres. He's growing his own food. He's shooting his own deer.
Taking care of his family.
Taking care of his family. He's got 4 generations together.
Mm.
That's the rich guy to me.
What are you paying attention to in life? It's all perspective.
Yeah.
The rich guy could also have that as well. It's what's important and what difference are you making in this world.
But the problem is that the rich guy, there's all these other things that have distracted them, and then they're so unhealthy.
Yeah. They're unhealthy spiritually, and like my grandfather, who I looked up to him like my entire life, Papa Dad, he told me, he's like, I'd rather be a 9-to-5 man with 1,000,000 smiles than be a man with $1 million and only fake smiles.
I'm going to use that. Can I use that?
That's good.
Absolutely.
I
like
love
that.
that. 100%.
Like that's
It is.
Smiles ear to ear.
Smiles ear to ear.
Well, hey, Dave, we're super excited that we could get you out here. I'm hoping that we can do another one here in the future at some point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think there's
let's
a lot
do
of
it after hunting season.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
recount some of our great
absolutely.
memories. And,
Yeah. We'll
And
get
if
some
you-
pictures of you. Okay, well, one thing I got to ask. This has been on my mind from the beginning.
uh-oh.
What was the biggest elk scoring-wise? I mean, this goes out to all the people that care about all that shit. What was the biggest elk scoring-wise that you ever been a part of? Whether you killed it yourself or
I
you
killed it
guided
myself. It was a 393 archery elk.
Rocky Mountain.
Eastern Nevada. And he was a 6x8. Split main beams on his left side. Yeah. But I tell you what, I killed that 393. I killed a bighorn sheep that same year. But but then I killed a couple of years later. I killed a 12-point stag in the backcountry of New Zealand. So not a high fence. So a 12-point stag.
I've always wanted to go hunt in
And
New Zealand.
it was,
That's
and that was incredible. It's not about the size of the animal; it's about the experience.
Yeah.
And some of the smallest animals have been some of the greatest stalks and the most memorable moments.
Yeah, and you know, the only reason I put that out there is because a lot of people they put a lot of stock in that. And for me, the first doe I ever killed with a bow was probably the most memorable kill I've ever had.
I still remember the first buck I killed was a spike, and a spike mule deer in the high country. It was a spot and stalk at 15 yards, killed it. That's exceptional. You kill a 393, bull, that's exceptional. But then, every different experience has its own memory. Whether it's the stalk, whether it's the people you were with, whether it's the country, whether it's the hardships that got you to it. I've been a part of a lot of 200+ inch mule deer kills. My biggest mule deer kill was like 175. It doesn't matter about that. I've killed a lot of archery deer. A lot of guys that I've taken out have killed 200+. Every experience has this beautiful journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is like what you said. It's a journey. It's not the kill. I mean, that's really the most important thing. And that's what we always try to stress in our Hunter Mentor Apprentice program is that, this is, if you are out there for the kill, big game hunting probably isn't for you because you have to be able to enjoy the experience of it.
Just being out there. Become part of the forest and being out there. Because if it's all about the kill, maybe bird hunting or, something to where you're having more likely you're going to kill something every day. Because archery hunting, especially archery hunting, big game, you may get one good opportunity a year. Maybe. You may go the whole year and not get one opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's reality of it, regardless of the work that you do.
Absolutely.
Enjoy every moment.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
Well, Dave, hey, thanks for coming out. Make sure you check out Dave on Instagram. It's Hollywood Dave 00. And then if you're interested in checking out some of his guided hunting, it's R&K Hunting Company. And shout out to all of his partners, Yeti, Hoyt, First Light, Marsupial Gear, Maven, Outdoorsman, Wilderness Athlete, Initial Ascent, Goat Knives, Hamsky Archery, Onyx, and Phillips Game Calls.
And then also,
if you guys are here till the end, we appreciate it. You guys made it 2 hours.
Yeah. And also, too, we were drinking the Old Forester 1920 mixed with the Old Forester 1910, which makes it Old Forester 1915, which is an own mix.
And I've been training at the gym, and I've been running, so I'm going to grab this bottle of Team Whiskey, and I'm going to head my ass out of here.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the Whiskey Chronicles podcast. We'll be back again soon. We've been busy setting up our archery shoots, but we got some more stuff lined up, and we're going to link up with Dave after hunting season, and we're going to talk the hunting talk.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.